Hi guys, and welcome to Escape with Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the WM watch, model number WM194. I received this watch for free, but no matter how I get a watch in on this channel for review, it's never going to sway my review. You're going to get my honest opinion every single time. And if by the end of this review you do want to pick one of these up, I'll be leaving a link down in the video description that takes you right to the WM Watch official store on AliExpress. That is an affiliate link, so if you do use that link, I earn a little bit of commission. You guys aren't paying any extra or anything like that. It just helps keep the channel running. So I really do appreciate the continued support. The current retail price of this watch is $122 US thereabouts. That's before any taxes, customs, VAT, coupons, sales, anything like that. WM Watch, they do participate in the sales, so if you're patient, you can save some cash on the top of this watch. The watch comes in 3 different colorways that you can see here, and you can see they're all pretty unique. This is not just your standard black dial diver. The watch case is made of 316L stainless steel, has a sapphire crystal, a screw-down crown, screw-down case back, 200 meters of claimed water resistance, and the watch is powered by the Seiko NH35 automatic movement. So believe it or not, this is a Zenith homage. Definitely not the Zenith homage I thought we would get, and it's far from the run-of-the-mill Submariner homage, so some will love it, some will hate it. But I'm here to help you decide if it's worth your money. So I say we get into this full review, but before we do a quick wrist check today. Wearing the MD watches, the Martin Design Studios. This is the Supernatural, and you'll probably see this review. It's going live in just a couple days from now, so you'll probably see this review before the review for this is going live. So yeah, go check it out. All right, let's get into dimensions. Case diameter of 42 millimeters. 12.2 millimeters thick, a 20 millimeter lug width, lug tip to lug tip of 48.2 millimeters, and sized up for my 7.5 inch wrist with 2 links removed. It weighs 149 grams. So it's definitely on the bigger side, 42 millimeters by 48 millimeters. Nice and thin though. I like the thickness of it at 12, just over 12 millimeters. So yeah, pretty impressive for a 200 meter diver with an NH35. I like the case on it. I think it's unique. It's interesting. You can see there it's a pretty flat case, but it's been nicely sculpted. The bracelet is actually pretty decent as well, balances nicely, and it's been fairly comfortable on wrist. I have no major issues with the way it wears, and I think it actually wears smaller than 42 millimeters. So yeah, don't let that 42 millimeters fool you. It definitely feels a little bit smaller than that. So I am going to go outside right now and throw it on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and as you can see, it wears pretty good actually. I'm quite surprised. It doesn't feel like a 42, but yeah, I like it a lot. I think it actually wears pretty good, feels balanced on the wrist. It is a pretty flat case, as you can see there, but yeah, I mean, it's compact enough for me that it's really not an issue, so pretty happy. And I think it actually looks pretty decent as well. The air coating on the crystal is non-existent, so it's one thing they could improve on, but legibility for this colorway is excellent, as you can tell. Let's go throw it on some straps, and let's get back to this review. Here we are on a cut-to-size FKM smooth one in orange. I think it matches the dial, matches the bezel pretty good. I think that actually looks good. What do you guys think? I actually like it. Here we are on another cut-to-size FKM. These are the mosaic ones, so got a little bit of a different pattern there. But I think it looks good. The black rubber was always going to look good on a watch like this, so yeah, it looks good. Very comfortable. These links for all these straps will be down below in the video description. But yeah, I like that. And here we are on a Horween leather strap from Hemsuit. Link will be down below. This strap is awesome. Big, thick leather, but really nice and comfortable. Yeah, I feel like it kind of goes with this vintage look. I think it actually looks pretty good on it. What do you guys think? Definitely not my favorite of the straps, but I feel like it can pull this one off. Alright, got one last strap for you. And lastly, here we are on a nylon strap, 2 layers underneath the watch there, still sitting up pretty nice. No real issues with it. I thought it might have some clearance issues, but this one was able to slip through just fine. And this is a pretty thin nylon strap, so maybe a thicker one would have issues, but yeah, really no issues. I think it looks okay. Not my favorite, but yeah, I think it looks alright. Alright, let's go back inside and let's get back to this review. All right, so let's talk about the case finishing. So the case finishing is pretty interesting. It's a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces. You can see I'm actually going to talk about this little ring, this polished ring here. It's a 14-sided polygon there that surrounds the dial. It's really interesting. It's fully polished. It's not part of the bezel, so it doesn't rotate with the bezel. Yeah, it's just an interesting little design aspect of it. You can see it sits up above the bezel there. Yeah, pretty interesting. And then the top of the case is a circular brushing, and then on these little flanks here you have a vertical brushing. So there's lots going on. Flipping it over to the crown side here, we have a 6.8 millimeter signed screw down crown, fully polished there with the WM watch logo there. Looks pretty good. And then you have a horizontal brushing on the case sides there. And then you have these nice polished chamfers that separate the top and the case sides there. The transitions between the two surfaces are actually pretty darn sharp. It's not quite San Martin sharp, but still looking really good, and yeah, very impressed with that. And then we also have a undercut on the case, so a little chamfer on the bottom edge here, and that just kind of softens the feel on the wrist. So yeah, it is pretty nicely done. I'm quite happy with the case finishing on this watch. Yeah, it kind of surprised me when I got it in. There is one spot, I don't even know if I'll be able to show it to you. So right down here, you can see right along this bottom chamfer here, there's a little oddity in the brushing. Not really sure what's going on there. You can kind of see it right there. Again, it's kind of hard to show, but it's something that I noticed and it caught my eye. It's not a deal breaker or anything, and I don't think it'll be on every watch. It's just on mine, so figured I would let you know. Flipping it to the case back here, you can see we have a display case back. I'm assuming that's mineral. I'll pop up whatever material it is right here. But it's a screw down case back, simple notches to get a tool in there. Yeah, everything seems to be done pretty nicely. Again, it's nice and smooth. There's no sharp edges on this bottom edge. You have a vertical brushing on the bottom of the case. Again, it's not the nicest done. You can see, right here on this lug here, they missed a little spot, but it's not something that I'm too concerned with that being on the bottom of the case. It's the fact that it's nice and soft and smooth is more important than that little mismatch there of the brushing. So yeah, pretty happy with the case on this watch. It's actually unique and nicely finished. All right, so let's talk about the bezel on this thing. First off, we have a mineral bezel insert. It's not ceramic, it's not aluminum, it is a mineral piece of glass. I tested it with my diamond selector and it did not come back as sapphire. So I think it looks pretty cool. We have an orange one on this one, there's a black one. It's basically the same layout but with a black dial and then a little bit of orange accent here at the 12 o'clock. I think it looks pretty cool. I think this all orange one looks pretty cool as well. There's a little bit of depth to it and a little bit of rounded offness of it. I think it looks nice. I like it a lot. The bezel itself, it is a 120 click unidirectional. You can see here the alignment is spot on. There's no play in this at all. It's very solid. The grip on it is actually pretty good for being so low profile. The grip on it's pretty good. The teeth on it aren't like overly sharp or anything like that. But I'm able to get a good grip on it. And you can see there, the bezel action actually pretty darn good. It's kind of a louder clicking, but nice and tactile. I can feel all the clicks, and obviously you can hear them nicely. So yeah, I'm overall pretty happy with the bezel on this watch. It's actually pretty darn good for what it is. You can see the finishing, a little bit of a brushing finish there, but a little polished lip on it there. And again, going back to that little ring there, it is not part of the bezel, as you can see there. So yeah, I think the bezel on this watch is actually pretty good. The resistance feels good as well. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the bezel on it. All right, so let's talk about the crystal. So first things first, we will test it for sapphire. It is positive for sapphire. So we do have a flat piece of sapphire crystal. I don't see any anti-reflective coating on this at all. It's not a deal breaker. I don't feel like flat sapphires need air coating. You can see here, ever so slightly sitting above that polished ring there. But nicely done. There's a little chamfer there to give it some interest, and it kind of gives it with that, sitting on top of that polished ring, it kind of gives it like a box dome sapphire look to it, but it's definitely just a flat piece of crystal, and that's fine. Yeah, I think the clarity looks pretty good as well. So yeah, not too much to complain about it. I mean, obviously having AR coating would be nice, but I don't think it's necessary on a watch like this. All right, so let's talk about the dial. First thing I'm going to mention is the rehout depth. The distance between the dial and the crystal, actually pretty minimal for an NH35. So yeah, quite impressed with that. I think it looks pretty good. The dial itself, it is a fully printed dial, so we have the orange minute track there surrounding the outside, and then printed indices at all the hour markers. A little bit different stylized ones, bordered ones at 12, 6, and 9. Simple cutout there at the 3 o'clock position for a date. Kind of wish they would have color matched that date, but they didn't. So, but I don't think it looks bad. I think symmetrically, I actually think a black date window wouldn't look good. So I retract my previous statement. We have the simple WM watch there, branding at the 12 o'clock position. Really tiny automatic 200 meters there at the 6 o'clock position. The handset on it, really interesting. You have this big arrow hand there for the minute hand. You got a paddle second hand, and then the simple fence post hour hand there. It all looks nicely done, good size. I don't see anything that's printed out of alignment or anything like that. The lume on the watch, it is using 2 different types of lume, and also I don't know if I mentioned that, but there's no lume on the bezel. I kind of wish they would have at least lumed the pip at 12 o'clock, but there's absolutely no lume on the bezel, which is a little bit disappointing. But the handset is loomed differently than the dial for some reason, and you can see here there is a difference in the lume color between the dial and the hands. The dial is a stark white. It's using BGW9, and the hands is a different type of blue lume. It's kind of a darker lume, that kind of what I've seen on like Pagani watches. So it's definitely not as strong as the dial, which you'll see here in just a second. I'm going to pop up the lume shot against a couple other watches in the collection. Here you can see it. The hands, they're definitely a different color. They're that darker blue. The dial is that kind of ice blue from BGW9, and then the hands, they just fade a little bit faster than the dial. It's not horrible. I can still read it in the middle of the night, and I guess that's the big thing, but it's definitely not as bright as the dial, which is actually pretty impressive. So yeah, a little disappointed that they didn't stick with BGW9 on the hands. I'm not sure why they did that, obviously to cut costs, but yeah, I think that's a missed opportunity for them. All right, so let's talk about the movement. So the movement inside is the Seiko NH35. It hand winds at 21,600 beats per hour, about 40 hours of power reserve. It does everything you need it to do. It's robust. It's accurate enough. Here's how mine has been running. Can't complain with that at all. So yeah, pretty happy with this movement inside. I mean, they've been around for a very long time. They're kind of that tool watch movement, one that you want a watch kind of like this. Yeah, they're just great all-around movements. And I really haven't had any or many issues with them throughout all the watches that I've seen. So really happy with the NH35. It is operated by this 3 o'clock screw down crown. Simple screw in and screw out action, nice and smooth. You do get a little pop out from the NH35. This first position is your hand winding. Nice and smooth. Second position changes your date. The alignment in the date window seems to be spot on. And pulling it out to the third position hacks the movement every single time, and you can set your time here however you want to. The alignment seems to be spot on. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this movement. Pressing the crown starts up the movement every time, and the threads, they pick up right away. I don't feel like I'm cross threading or anything like that. So there's not a whole lot to complain about in the movement in the crown section. So let's talk about the bracelet. So the bracelet is 20 millimeters and it tapers down to 18 millimeters at the clasp. It's 3 solid links, solid end links, female pivot end links, as you can see there. Yeah, I mean, it's actually a pretty decent bracelet. You can see the tolerances, they're not the best. It does have a little bit of a jangle to it, which you don't expect from a bracelet like this. It's kind of big, kind of bulky, kind of heavy. It's held in by push pins. I had no issues sizing this thing. I removed 2 links for my 7.5-inch wrist. The fluidity of the bracelet has been fine. It doesn't pull hairs or anything like that. This bottom edge is just a little bit sharper than I'd like it to be. So yeah, it's something that they could work on. It's not horrible. It's definitely far from the worst that I've felt, but it could be a little bit better. But yeah, I think the bracelet in general is actually pretty decent. The end link fitment looks pretty good too. Flows with the case almost perfectly. About what you would expect for a watch in this price range. The female end links, you can see they kind of get hung up on themselves, but for the most part they do drop straight down. So yeah, it doesn't add any extra length or anything like that. The end link fitment, pretty good in here. I can feel just a little bit of wobble, but it's not something that I noticed on wrist or anything like that. And The gaps in between here, pretty minimal as well. So yeah, it's actually a pretty good bracelet, pretty good end link. The clasp here, pretty standard. It has your WM there. I'm not sure why they did that. They should have, gone with the logo on the dial there. Interesting choice by them, but it's brushed on the top, brushed on the side, and a polished chamfer. So it matches the case nicely looks wise. You got plenty of micro adjustment holes there, 6 there. So you're going to be able to get a good fitment on this thing. It's just a 2-button releaser, nice and simple, nice tight tolerances in here. I haven't had any issues with the clasp not locking in on itself or coming undone or anything like that. So yeah, the clasp is nothing fancy. It's just a pressed outer shell. There's no on the fly adjustment or anything, which you shouldn't expect at a price like this. But yeah, overall it's just a good clasp. I've got no issues with it at all, really. Yeah, it's nice and soft and rounded off. There's no sharp edges on it or anything. So yeah, for the most part, I've got very little to complain about in the bracelet. Feels just a little bit jangly for a bracelet like this. These ones should feel a little more solid, but yeah, the tolerance is there. It adds to the comfort of it, but yeah, it definitely feels a little jangly, a little hollow maybe. But yeah, other than that, it's actually pretty good. So there you go, guys. That is the WM watch, WM194. An interesting homage watch, something that you're not really going to see anywhere else. They got some bright colors, and I think they actually look pretty good. My only real complaints are the bracelet being a little bit jangly, and then the handset not using the same lume as the dial. It's an interesting choice, but besides that, you're getting a nice accurate movement. You're getting some pretty good looks, a comfortable watch to wear, accurate movement, and good lume on the dial. I'll give them that. Good bezel action as well, and just something that stands out, something that's a little bit different than all the other divers out there. So kudos to WM Watch for homaging something out of the ordinary and executing it to a pretty high standard. So yeah, I think if you are interested in this model, there's not any deal breakers in my opinion. So go check out the link in the video description. I think that's it for me. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.